Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining to this podcast called Yo Soy Tu. It's a Spanish channel, but we also have other topics in English. So the name of this podcast is called Yo Soy Tu, which translates to I am you. We talk about all topics from spiritual to day-to-day business and technology. So anything that goes, we can talk about. And the goal for this channel is to connect and to inspire others. So I'm very grateful to have the opportunity of all of the guests that can come and visit and give us their precious time. So let's please help us with a like and help us share so we can promote this channel. So thank you so much for being in this episode. My next guest is a special guest really close to my heart. She's a solution architect and in business applications with over 25 years of experience. Please help me welcome Shawn Sissenwein. Hi, Shawn. Welcome
Hi,
to the episode.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you, Shawn. I'm very happy we recently connected after a long time since we first met. And I'm really thankful that you taking your time and opportunity for doing this. The episode for today is called Women in Tech. You and me have worked in the IT industry for many years. And part of my last episode, I mentioned that a lot of my family members don't know exactly what technology or what we do because it's little difficult to explain is not a conventional career for us, but just give them a little quick. How would you describe what we do as a solution architect? Can you just give us a little brief, description of what we do?
Sure. I think the greatest thing and the exciting thing for me is being able to go into businesses and review requirements, kind of look at where they're at today, what they want to do, and then we can provide solutions. And it's not necessarily, modifying or developing in the system. There's all kinds of different solutions out where it's an add-on. You've got Power Platform, you've got all kinds of areas that you can use. So it's exciting to me to be able to really automate a lot of business processes. I think it's important to have those manual processes, but we can come in and save a lot of time using the tools that we have and picking the right tool for the requirement.
Yes, that's a good, easy way to explain it, that we can use multiple tools. Although we sometimes specialize mainly with the Microsoft tools, there's other tools that they can be utilized for the customers or for the clients, how we call them. Can you tell us a little bit of how you got into technology? And I can give you a little bit after you kind of tell us your story. I can kind of chime in of how I started, but can you just kind of explain how was it something that you were looking for to do it, or just kind of life took you through the path? What's the story?
Yeah, so what happened is I don't have a college degree, and at some point I was trying to find work, and I had this great opportunity to do reskill, kind of upskill, and I took that and went in and was decided one day I said I want to go into computers. I don't have an education. I need to be able to support my family, and I had applied for a networking class. However, when I took the test, I was not really good because I didn't know anything about computers, RAM, hard drive, anything. But in the process, I had called the president of the company, the training, and I said, "You have to let me in. I need to be able to learn this. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll work nights, weekends. I have people, I have resources, and I'm just going to figure it out." So I was fortunate to be able to join that training. And what I realized when I got there is I was definitely the token girl. And but I had that determination and that passion to really, go for it. And that's how I ended up in IT.
That is inspiring because I feel like as we go through the conversation, we'll see that a lot of the things in common that we have for the women now and the career path is that we're very passionate. And I think that's also like a driver. So for me, I was getting into college in the 98, and I went to college in Mexico. And so they have like kind of a study plan, and you go through what do you want to do? Do you want to be an accountant? Do you want to be business administration? Do you want to be an attorney? And so there was all these classes that you can kind of look for. And there was one particular one career path that said, engineering and information systems, or information technology, more of the administration side. And I was like, I've never heard of that. Nobody had ever kind of promoted or mentioned that career existed. And so I asked my college counselor, and they said that that career has only started in the early 90s in the Mexico. Although, as you know, US is always 20 years ahead of the technology. So in the 70s, started in the US, in Mexico was just the 90s. So it was kind of a new. And so I was very curious and more excited because I knew that technology was the way to go. So that's how I kind of got into. So for me, I feel very blessed that my career path took me as life took me to technology through the life path, because I know a lot of my school friends, they study one thing and then worked in something different. So I feel like for me, it was a little bit of blessing to continue that path since the beginning. So that's how I started. So nowadays it's like so um, common to pick a tool and just start coding. Like they give it to you in elementary, so they can start coding and build their own apps. So it's a big
Yeah, I want to
change.
share something with you that I don't know if that you know, but when after that class that I took for 3 months, we went to go get certified, and we actually went to Mexico across the border to get the certification. So I got my first Microsoft certification in Mexico.
See, I'm learning something new from you. Okay, sounds good. All right. So the next question is, what has been one of the projects? I know there's many because we have worked in many, many projects, but maybe one or two of the projects that had really have been exciting or unique. Not necessarily challenging, because I know we have like a lot of challenges in every project. So I don't want to get into the deep troubles, but like more like about the exciting and unique experiences that you've been.
Yeah, I think a couple of them. One of them is in EDI. So I did a lot of warehouse labeling, that kind of stuff. So I think being able to set the maps up and get the orders in and process them all the way through, there's nothing like having it print. And then I had one customer who needed to print like 600 labels at one time. So I created two codes that when the warehouse scanned that in, it went and did all of the labels. I have this picture of like 600 labels printing out at the same time, and it was like the most exciting thing. So for me, printing, labels, scanning, I love it.
That's fun. Let me tell you mine. I think, well, no, I cannot, we cannot say names, but this is a food prep project where it's based on a subscription. So they have like a meal prep. And so my role was to go through the warehouse and start, like you say, doing the bins, scanning, because everywhere through the shop floor, they have to build the meal preps of the recipe. So if it's a recipe and then you say, okay, they have to do the potatoes and the other vegetables, and then they have to box them and then they have to ship them. And so the exciting thing was in one of they have the big refrigerators, like freezers. And we had to go with our jackets and do the physical count, and we were freezing. So we will go 5 minutes in, scan, 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 and then go out 5 minutes. It was crazy. I was like, man, this is one of the projects I'll never forget, that it was unique and fun at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Another one that was kind of fun, it was a coffee place. And so they had all these coffee machines. So every like 30 minutes, like, Shawn, okay, we'll make you a latte. And so like the whole day I drink coffee, but it was so exciting to have all
You
the
were
different, as
wired.
I'm training, they're just bringing me coffee all day.
I'm gonna give you the last one also, because we can go on and on with all these projects, but this
Yeah.
one was amazing just because they're this famous cosmetics brand. So every time we go to they're in New York, so we would go to their offices, and they had this huge showroom with all of the makeup, with blush and mascara and all the, like, it was a beautiful showcase. And so that every time I go visit them, they will give me this bag full of goodies. So it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working for this project and I can come home with all this makeup. So I think
That's
that was a fun
exciting.
one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we're just going to talk about the good projects, I'm sure we have a lot of horror stories, but we're going to leave that to another podcast, because definitely those are lesson learned that we can
We
do.
need therapy for that one.
All right. So let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Do you had the imposter syndrome in this career? Have you ever feel it or had it, where you feel, am I supposed to be here? Is this something that, like, am I really good at this? Like this imposter syndrome. And I don't know if it's gender specific. Does it happen to everybody, or does it happen to, because I know a few females, like a couple of them that I talked to, especially in consulting, and they have told me about this imposter syndrome. Have you had it or felt it?
I think in the middle somewhere because we worked so hard to learn, and I just remember nights and weekends and getting up early in the morning. I think at some point, like everything starts clicking, and you don't have to work as hard. Like it's just there and it flows. And then you start thinking, oh, I better start studying and figuring this out because I need to really work hard at this. But yeah, there's a point where you're like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm here, I'm working through things and it's just flowing. And those are the times where you're like, okay, is this really something's,
Yeah.
me or something?
Yeah.
This is somebody else.
Yes, I think the same. I think earlier in stages, I feel more like that because of a lot of to absorb. As you go through it, a lot of the projects, it was more of learn as you go, because every project is unique, so there's no manual to do in this situation and to do in this. So that's why I've taken a lot of the culture of documenting lesson learns on each project, just mainly because of maintaining that knowledge so everybody else can learn from those projects. So yes, I think I felt it at the beginning, early stages, and as like you said, as you go, you feel more comfortable with just knowing that things will work out, things will eventually
Yeah,
work out.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's see. What about do you have any advice or anything that you would tell other females or women in that would inspire them to work in the tech industry that are not just like unsure whether to do it or not do it? What do you think might be the is there a qualification? Is it a trade? What is it that you think maybe like, for example, if you asking me, I've never been able to be good in kitchen, like cooking. And I don't know if it's because of the right, like the brain left side, right? Like, I've never been able to be good in the kitchen. So does that mean that there's certain traits to become a female in the technology, or is it, do you think anybody can do it? Anybody can, like, what do you think is a good advice for females that would like to be?
I think there's a couple of things. One is passion, but I also think it's that soft skill. And it's something that we talk about a lot of times where we can train the hard skills. It's that soft skills and connecting with people and being able to listen and, solve problems and then go to the computer and figure out like how we're going to do it. So I would say someone who has that passion, the soft skills, that drive to want to do it. It's definitely not something that you go to school and say, okay, I'm going to take this class and then at the end, I'll be able to go out and consult. There's so much more in there. And yeah, I think it's just passion and connecting and customer service and, wanting to
Yes.
help people.
Do you think there's like, because I know there's the introverts versus the extroverts. Do you think that has some sort of role? Like, does it help or not help? Because I know, like for our industry, the technology, I've noticed the developers' roles, which is the programming roles, are more like an introverts. They don't like so much the interaction with the customer's front end. They look somebody like us to do the intermediate translation in between. What is the requirements? They don't like so much the talking. Do you think that has a personality trait then in becoming consulting slash technology, or it can be in any field?
I I think it's any. I mean, I had one developer who was really, really good, but he was real quiet. And so when we all went on site, the customer actually, the first day asked him to be removed because they felt like he did not know what he was doing because he was quiet. And so I think you're right. I think it's that perception, especially how we're perceived. And if you're really quiet and set back and don't say too much, sometimes the customers will think you don't know what you're doing. But then you get somebody who talks a lot and is able to interact, and really their skills, they don't have the skills to implement what we need to implement. So, yeah, I think when you're in front of the customer, it really depends. In training, I think you need to have that skill to be in front, to get up in front and speak and talk with everybody. And somebody who's introvert, maybe not.
I keep telling my friends that I'm really an introvert, but they don't believe me. But I am. I fake it. I really fake it to be an extrovert because you have to kind of be bubbly and talking and keep the attention. You have to, not talking, then people will be like, oh, looking at their phones when you're presenting. You have to be maintaining the audience, right? But I'm very
Yeah, I'm similar too. And one time I did this. presentation. And after the present, I mean, it was a great presentation. It worked really, really well. But the next day I was so exhausted. And I
Mhm.
think it takes a lot of mental capacity. And you're right, when you're an introvert, it's hard to be, upfront talking all the time. And I just started speaking maybe the last couple of years. I didn't want to do it, but now that I'm getting up and doing presentations and standing in front of a crowd, it does get a little bit easier, but it was not second nature for me. And I
Yeah.
do training. I've implemented NAV and Business Central for 25 years, and to get up in front of a room and talk is terrifying.
Yes, I got advice last time. He said he told me it's like a muscle. You just have to develop it more, and the skill sets just develop it as. Even though it's a soft skill, it's still a muscle. So we just have to keep working at it as, and you grow. You end up to grow.
Yeah. I wanted to share one other interesting thing that I feel like women and maybe other people feel this way too, but I feel like sometimes when we're in a room, we don't necessarily say that we know the answer to something, and we let somebody else. So we're almost like we know more than we let on. And I think that's somewhat of a learned behavior. And us starting out in women in tech, I think that's how that was, that we kind of sat back and let the men and other people in the room, do the solution, even though we had the solution. And I'll find myself more and more saying to speak out. So I would say to anybody, if you're in a room and you're with other people and you know the answer, and you know to speak out and not be afraid to voice the answer, and talk through the solution.
That's good advice. I also feel that it has to do a lot with the confidence, and I think that's was one of the advices as a consultant, that you have to be always speaking with confidence. Not necessarily you may know all of the answers or all, but you have to speak with confidence in how to present it. So I think going to what you said is, yes, speak up, but also speak it up with the attitude that you're not afraid. Because I feel like when people perceive you as insecure is when they is it, are you correct? Are you
Right.
just trying to get attention? Because that's usually how they label females, and sometimes you're just trying to get attention, and that's
Or
uh,
if you start waffling back and forth, you're right, it's not this confident, and then the other person thinks, oh, maybe you're right. Which way are we going? What are we doing?
yes. I This is more of a like inspiring conversation, but I also had some experiences, and I don't want to label it more of the gender, but I think it's more of the personality, but it's more perception, right? Because they feel like females, the perception is that we're a little bit dramatic per se, and I don't want to label it as a gender specific, because I feel like there's also men that can be a little dramatic, so it's not
Right.
just one type. But I feel like
Right.
women take the label of being a little bit more exaggerating, or like complaining a little bit more. And so I think the perception is always a good advice to tell people that you can present. I think people like solutions. So when you're presenting a problem, they always want you to bring a solution to it. And so I think that's something they can take as an advice of, yes, you can bring to the table, this is an issue, this is something, but also bring
A
uh,
solution.
options, if not
Option.
options. And I think that's also something I've learned, that nobody wants to hear complain. They want to see what you're going to do about it. How are you going to solve it? So I think that's something that can apply to anywhere, any industry. And even to me, it's like they're bringing me a problem in the household. Like, this is broken. Okay, did you call already? Are they going to fix it? Like, are you bringing me a problem for me to solve it, right? Or are you going to take charge? So I think that's also a good advice.
Yeah, that is good advice.
Any other, I know we talk about good projects and kind of things, but any challenges, as I know we had that special project we worked on that was a little challenging because we were juniors and then we were females in a way. So that role was a little bit more like, okay, you're just here for an assistant, not so much as a lead. And I think part of the experience, we earned that leadership role because of the experience portion. And now we taking that opportunity to now become more of the mentors, because I feel like that was a lack of mentorship in any role, like not even men or female, just in general. There was like that. lack of mentorship. What do you think are the what are the qualities of a mentor? What inspires somebody to become a mentor? To me, it was the fact that I had no one to lead me, and I don't want anybody else to go through that same process. But what are you thinking? Why is there not that many people that have that passion or that calling to become a mentor?
I think it is partly if you're right, if they didn't have someone who was a good mentor or leader for them, so they don't really know. I think some people too just feel like, well, I learned it this way and it was hard and I had to invest a lot. So they think that the other person should learn the same thing. And when I go back, it's like, yes, but we need to, walk them through, show them, be more of, like you said, a leader, mentor, and really just kind of making sure like the whole room, the whole team, has what they need. And if they need help with anything, I don't want anybody to be afraid to ask. And so
Mhm,
for me, I feel like I'm always kind of looking for that and maybe looking for somebody in the room that's real quiet, not saying anything, that maybe is just kind of afraid to ask questions and you don't want to sound stupid. So some people don't. And so in those situations, it's great to be able to just kind of help, guide them a little bit and start probing and doing that. But I love the mentorship program and I've had a lot of different customers and people along the way that I've mentored over the years. And like I said, I think it's just because, we learned a certain way and I don't want them to have to go through what we went through. So, you're always trying to
mhm.
make it better for somebody else.
Yes, likewise, likewise. All right. Have you been in a situation where you feel the career has um you like become a workaholic per se, and then you don't have the time to manage work-life balance? And how did you like how did you make yourself aware that you were like maybe overworking? Because this career can take you that path, right?
Yeah, and I think because we spent so much time either early on traveling, like you said, we were presented with problems during the day, so at night we were still trying to solve them. So inherently, I feel like we worked very long hours, go lives, prepping for go lives. And I think you're right, just kind of getting that balance. For me, when I was raising kids, I think it was harder, but it was easier because you had that, camping, you had those things and on the weekends to go do. And I think that kind of pries you away from your work and you start doing that. But as time goes on, you just have to look and see that, okay, there is, stuff out there. Don't spend your whole time in your office in the computer and really try to enjoy some of the things, outside, going for walks. I love going to the beach, doing a lot of those kinds of things. So you just kind of
Mhm,
feel yourself slipping and
mhm.
then
I think for the first 10 years of my career, I became a workaholic just subconsciously, like I was not even knowing that I was one. So I was just, you are, you need to be intervened. But my son, something that hit me that was like maybe 5 years ago or a little bit more. He said, I don't want to do what you do because it seems like you're always busy and stressed. And I never perceived myself as, I mean, I knew I was busy, but I never perceived as my everything was stress. And so he said, I never want to do technology because of how he saw me. And I'm like, I think I'm not really balancing out really well life with work. I feel like I tend to overcommit because I think part of being good at what you do, they throw you more work because they know you can get it done. And to me was always a pride. Oh, they because of what I went through at the beginning of that experiences at the or learning. And I said to myself, I'm gonna become so good at this that they're gonna request to work with me, and that happened. So be careful what you wish for. I was
right,
like,
right, you get too
all
much
these
work.
projects, like, we're supposed to only be to be like a good life balance, like two big ones, but not more than two. And I was like managing 4 or 5. So it was double the work. And I was like, oh, doing all this because I was trying to prove myself that I could do this. And so I think I went to the extreme.
Yeah,
And so I think I feel like one of the lessons or advice would it be to take it easy and then not to die in the process of being good, you know,
right.
because you lose yourself trying to work, and prove that you could do this, and then I feel flattered then, oh, Brenda, we have this project, we have this for you, and they want you for this, and then go here and there and then have no life.
Well, I noticed my youngest daughter moved back home just a couple of months ago, and what really was, anyway, I was working way too many hours, and she actually pointed out, because you're right, you don't have that work-life balance, and all of a sudden it's like I'm in here working, early mornings, weekends, and so when she pointed it out, it's like you're right, I am back to working too much. So it is something that I struggle with for sure, and I think I probably always will at this point, but yeah, just kind of getting that point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go, do some fun stuff. And we work really hard and you want to enjoy it too. But
Yep. And that's part of the reason why I've done like this podcast. It helps me do what I like to do. I have now more personal things that I'm committed. Like I do the Zumba classes. Like before that was like, no, I don't have time for any of that. And so now I do things that are fun and there can be take you out of the chair and then um and do more physical things. So then it's also therapy for me now, moving more outside
right.
of the desk. Well, that's kind of the questions I have. Is there anything else you want us to bring to the table, to the discussion, that we can tell other females or women in tech that they're thinking or they're already doing it now? Anything that you want to, um,
I think it's just really, supporting each other. And if you see somebody that's struggling, just, reach out and maybe see how you can help. And sometimes, a lot of times, it's just listening. If somebody is having a problem and they can't figure it out, it's like, okay, let's just walk through this together. And just really, like I said, supporting, I think is a good advice. And then if there's something you're passionate and you want to learn something, it's never too late. There's so many resources online, and you've got YouTube videos and things like that. A lot of times I'll learn some of the power platform stuff is to start following people and engaging in the community. And so if you find somebody who's inspiring you, then, reach out to them and let them know. So then that way people put a lot of hours into those videos and podcasts and blogs, and knowing that, you're reaching other people is also is a good thing as well. So
yes, I love it so much that we're living in this age where education is in the fingertips with the YouTubes and with everything, with the TikToks. I know that it can go either way. Either technology can dumb you down, like what they're saying, like a lot of the social media people, like, oh, they're losing a lot of time just scrolling. But in my opinion, it's like, how do you want to use it? And for me, it's like, I feel super excited that you can look at all these videos that are for free and you can just, from there, you can just go to the next and then keep looking and they give you the 5 minute breakdown. Like you want to know anything, what is Power Apps? You just go, and in a 10-minute video, they can explain to you in a high level view what things are.
right, right.
Well, that's awesome. I want to thank you so much for sticking around and being a friend for such a long time, and then we reconnecting and having all those experiences. Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge and experience, and I hope we can continue doing more and more of this podcast so we can have other topics and just general, just not just work, but we can talk about other things that are fun and exciting. Because for me this is therapy. I feel like I go back and re-listen to those podcasts and just like, oh, I didn't think about this, I didn't think about that, and it just makes me kind of flow and inspired to do more things. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Shawn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for the same. And I was really glad we connected. And I think that, you and I shared a project together that I think just bonded. And I think we were the first support group, women in tech, at our coffee shop, just, trying to support each other. And so just going through that and knowing that we're both still, in technology and doing a little bit of different things, it's great to have those relationships and share those opportunities together.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for staying in this podcast. We'll continue with more episodes. So again, follow and give us a like. Thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.